Hey, welcome back, everyone. So, we're waiting for some more people to join in here. This is Patreon Live, and thank you, everyone, so far that is joining me here for this Patreon feed. I will have this up on uh, YouTube and on the Facebook group later today, but for all you who are on Patreon, you guys get this live stream first, and everybody else is just gonna be able to watch the video. Um, yeah, Janet, this is a live stream, and we're going to be talking about Bradford Bishop today. So I will. We got yeah, I've got enough of you guys in here right now. I guess we can go ahead and start. Bradford Bishop. Read you a little bit of the bio about Bradford Bishop and who he is and what he did. Bradford Bishop, William Bradford Bishop Jr. was born August 1st, 1936, and is a former United States Foreign Service officer who has been a fugitive from justice since allegedly killing 5 members of his family in 1976. On April 10th, 2014, the FBI placed him on the list of 10 most wanted fugitives. However, on June 27, 2018, Bishop, who would be 81 years old at that time, was removed from the list, making room for more dangerous fugitives. However, he is still being actively pursued by the FBI. Now, that comes from the Wikipedia page. I read that for you. Um, the interesting things about Bradford Bishop, besides his biography, is that you may have seen his story on Unsolved Mysteries, on America's Most Wanted. There have been no less than 6 different made-for-TV movies about Bradford Bishop and his killings and what he did. And he obviously not a good man, but and I'll get to your comments here in a little bit. But he should have been caught, and by all accounts, there are some things that he did that really narrowed down to where he was, what he did after the killing. But there's a lot of conspiracy out there that he had help from the federal government, from the Secret Service, and from other clandestine groups within the government. In conspiracy theories, though. I mean, and there's nothing that has actually really ever been proven that he had help getting away after this. But it's, I'm trying to summarize, the conspiracy theories that are out there. He did his crime, and then afterwards he made a series of huge mistakes where, I mean, you could tell where he was. I mean, he rented a motel room afterwards in his own name. That was easy to trace. In 1976, and when he did this, he also made several phone calls that are known, people he had contacted. But for some reason, he was able to get away with it. And, you would think with somebody who'd made so many grievous mistakes, afterwards, that he would have been caught. But then when it came to law enforcement, they're like, oh, where he went, he's just gone. He's not there. I mean, people. He obviously wasn't a mastermind at his crime, but A little bit more about his bio. On March 1st, yeah, we just passed March 1st last month, 1976. After learning he would not receive a promotion that he had sought, Bishop told his secretary he did not feel well and left his office in Foggy Bottom. Yeah, it's a real place. Police believe he drove to the bank where he withdrew several $1,000 and then to Montgomery Mall where he bought a sledgehammer and a gas can. He also filled the gas can and the tank of his station wagon at an adjacent gas station. From there, he drove to the hardware store where he purchased a shovel and a pitchfork. Again, he was spotted at the bank. He was spotted in all these places that he went, the mall, the hardware store, everybody, seeing what he was, doing, kind of odd behavior. He returned to his home in Bethesda, Maryland, between 7:30 and 8 p.m. Police believe Bishop's wife was the first one killed, then his mother, when she returned from walking the family dog. Finally, his three sons, ages 5, 10, and 14, were killed while they slept in their upstairs bedroom. Bishop allegedly drove the bodies 275 miles in his station wagon to a dense wooded swamp about 5 miles from Columbia, North Carolina. There on March 2nd, he dug a shallow grave where he piled the bodies and set them ablaze with gasoline. Now, at that point, he was spotted entering the area. He changed his shoes afterwards. He set the bodies ablaze in a shallow grave, and the fire was, soonly detected by others in the area, and they stumbled across it. And again, he should have been caught, but he wasn't. He just simply got in his station wagon and drove away. Bishop is known to have purchased tennis shoes at a sporting goods store in Jacksonville, North Carolina, later that same day. According to witnesses, he had his family dog with him and was possibly accompanied by a woman described as dark and skinned. Okay, now this is true, and from what the eyewitness testimony at the store, and they're in town in North Carolina, they described the woman as being either Puerto Rican or Dominican in nationality, and that she was someone who didn't quite fit in with him. She was a very well-dressed, very well-mannered individual, and he was an older gentleman who kind of was, he was slouched over. He didn't walk upright, completely straight up, but he didn't look like he was of the same social standing, I guess you could say, from this woman who obviously, was very well, well dressed and looked out of place with him, especially there in the sporting goods store with him. On March 10th, a neighbor contacted the police after not seeing the family for some time. A detective found blood in the bishop's home front porch and on the floor and walls and front halls of the bedrooms. Dental records were used to confirm the bodies found in North Carolina were Bishop's family. Again, this is something that was it's somewhat true. The detectives were actually sent there not necessarily originally by the neighbor. They were sent there by a friend. A friend of one of his boys had called to report that the son hadn't shown up for baseball practice, and he also they had missed other appointments that the family obligations that they had prearranged that they were going to be at. The neighbor's call came later on, and when the police originally showed up at the home, they found blood smears on the door jamb, floor, and on the wood of the front porch area. So it gave them reasonable cause to go inside to investigate because it looked like a murder or something tragic had happened at the home. Yeah, Carol, there have been several different movies that have been made about him and this act. Now, what is really surprising about it, at least from my side, is that where he actually dumped the bodies in the Great Smoky Mountain National Park there, it was excuse me. It's a very heavily traveled area for day hikers and recreational wise like that. And he didn't go too far off of the beaten path to dig the shallow grave and set the bodies in a grave and then set them on fire. He knew once he set them on fire that it wouldn't have been that long before somebody would come along and find these smoldering bodies. He didn't do a whole heck of a lot to try to cover up that fact. He could have dug a shallow grave, put dirt over the top of him, and he probably would have gotten a much larger time frame to get away than he did. But he didn't do that. He set them on fire, and uh, there are probably psychological motivations for why he did that, but we don't know exactly why. And it's always been speculated, that he was trying to seek revenge, on top of not only annihilating his family, but he was seeking revenge upon them as the reason why he kept on getting, not getting the promotions that he did, because he was someone who felt that his family held him back. And this actually plays into a lot when it comes to the psychology of family annihilators. Family annihilators believe that the family is not only they're saving the family from becoming someone like them, the killer, but they're also annihilating the family to save them the embarrassment and heartache of living after what they're planning. So they have to take everyone out, and that means everybody within the immediate household. They have to kill them all. And when it comes to people like this, they see the family as the reason why they're not succeeding in life. It's never their fault why they're not succeeding. It is always the family. It's somebody else from outside who is stopping them. Someone, and when I say outside, that means someone outside of themselves is the reason why they're not able to succeed. On March 18th, Bishop's 1974 Chevy station wagon was found abandoned in an isolated campground in Elkmont, Tennessee. 400 miles from the Columbia area. The car contained dog biscuits, a bloody blanket, a shotgun, an axe, a shaving kit, Bishop's medication. The trunk's spare tire was full of blood. The witness believed the car had been there since March 5th or 7th. Police theorized Bishop joined and followed hikers on the Appalachian Trail and attempted to follow his scent with bloodhounds, but without success. The following day, the grand jury indicted Bishop on 5 counts of first-degree murder and other charges. All right, going back to that, the family dog was found later on, and in another area of the Great Smoky Mountain area. They found a change of clothing. They found his wallet. They found in his wallet there was a $20 bill in his wallet, and there was an identification. No credit cards were in there. So he took. See again, he trying to get away with this. No, he took his credit card out with him. He only had one credit card, and that was a J.C. Penney's credit card. He took that with him, but he left his driver's license behind. And he left the $20 in the wallet, maybe as a gift to whoever found the wallet. A pair of pants, socks, underwear, undershirt, and dress shirt and shoes were all found at the scene. This is in another area, and there was other signs that he maybe had been in this area, and this wasn't just discarded. The clothes were neatly folded and set on a wooden log that had been cut as a bench, and so it was the pants, the underwear, socks, t-shirt, dress shirt, and then the shoes were sitting on top of it all. And everything was meticulously cleaned and folded, which plays into who he was as an individual. He was very meticulous in his dress and how he acted, and according to his friend, who Kenter. Kenter said that he was one of those people. It's like when he came to work every day, everything had to be in its particular spot. His typewriter had to be here. His coffee mug, cup was here. Everything was very neat, and if anything was out of ordinary, it threw off his entire day. But going back to his work again, since I brought that up, and he wasn't exactly what you would call a great employee. He was extremely loyal to his work and his coworkers. He did everything and went above and beyond for the company, but he wasn't very good for company, government. But he wasn't very good at what he did. He was mediocre at best at what he did, but he was constantly trying to excel and do more and more and more. And sometimes he interjected himself into areas of work that he wasn't necessarily qualified for, or even asked to take part in. In one instance was that they brought up was a filing cabinet was being moved and got knocked over, and all the files was spilled out. He took it upon himself to go and not only help the receptionists and secretaries, gather up all the papers that had fallen out of the filing cabinet, but he went through and made sure that everything was, put back into the files and put back into their proper order within each and every file that was in there. You didn't need to do that. That was somebody else's job, but he interjected himself into that and said, hey, look, I will do this. Yeah, Stephen, the motivations in his case, a lot of it was most likely stress-induced. You can actually look at, there's a lot of similarities between what Bishop did, here in 1976, right? And you look at what he did and how he acted, and you can see direct correlations between that and how, several other, like Christian Longo, and what Christian Longo did and the acts, that he committed along the way after, killing his family and drowning them all. And some of the bizarre behaviors that Christian Longo did, along with also you could make a correlation also with Christopher Watts after he killed his family. This is something that is very common though with family annihilators. What they do is they kill, and they never they build up in their head that they need to annihilate the family. They have planned it out, sometimes days, weeks, months, years, even in some cases decades. They have planned out every aspect of how they're going to kill the family, but they gave almost no thought to how to get away. So the bizarre behavior that they show after the fact is, from the outside looking in, it's like, why would you do that? That's just stupid. Like going to all these different stores, not trying to disguise how he looked. And the same thing, with, Longo and Watts. Watts, and what did he do? He went on the evening news to ask for people to help return his family. Christian Longo, he went to a strip club, and then he got on a plane and flew out of the country and partied like a frat boy, and didn't care if anybody was filming him or taking photographs of him. Everybody knew where he went. They just had to go get him. But, and Watts never made any plan to get away, really, from the crime. Where here, Bishop, he didn't necessarily make a plan to get away, and that's where a lot of the conspiracy theories come in, and speculation about he had to have had help getting away with this, because he made a huge series of mistakes before he ever, got away, and has been on the run all these years. Now, there are quite a few people within the FBI and the U.S. Marshal Service who do believe that he has passed away, that Bradford Bishop has passed away. And they believe he passed away years ago, because there was a gentleman who fit the description and everything about him that it points to him, it being him. But this individual was cremated before they could actually do DNA testing on this individual. So, a lot of people, well, from what I've read, I would say a lot, but I mean, there's actually 5 different FBI agents and 4 different U.S. Marshal officers who all believe that that Bishop is dead. That this individual who lived in the Miami-Dade county area in Miami, Florida. They believed that he was Bishop, and that Bishop was got away. That was him down there, because this guy who lived there, he lived a very low-key life. He never really left his home. He was a recluse by what his neighbors would say. He had food delivered to his home. He never went to the grocery store. He stayed inside of his residency. And the individual who died in the Miami area, when they went to go settle the estate, since nobody came forward to claim the estate, they found out that individual in Florida, the name that was on the home and the tax records and everything else, was all a lie. It didn't come back to anybody who was real. So that's why in one of the other clicks that they think that, well, that this guy down in Florida, was definitely Bishop, because, they similarities, height and weight and stuff like that, and age would have fit with Bishop. But that's speculation and what they believe. So, a little bit more on Bishop's motives. Bishop's motives have never been fully explained. A 1977 article in the Washington Post reported that there was no evidence of infidelity or financial or job problems. Although Bishop had been passed over for promotion, there was no history or work-related issues. Him being passed over has been described as a first glitch in the storybook tale, which was his life. It has been reported that Bishop's career has caused some marital tension. Bishop was unhappy at his desk job and interested in another foreign post. But his wife, Annette, was reluctant. That's speculation. No one really knows that for sure. And I don't know where Wikipedia and where the Washington Post got this from, because I've got the screen split in 2 here. And I think the Washington Post is quoting, getting their information from Wikipedia there. But yeah, and he wasn't, mostly upperly mobile. He was making a darn good living at what he was doing. Yeah, again, he wasn't the best employee, but he certainly wasn't anywhere near being fired. He was just an average employee, but he went above and beyond. The FBI states that Bishop was an avid outdoorsman and enjoyed camping and hiking. He had his pilot's license and when he was stationed in Africa with the U.S. Foreign Service Department. He enjoyed riding motorcycles and working out every day. He suffered from depression and insomnia and was taking Xerox at the time. He is fond of dogs and also enjoys Scotch, peanuts, spicy foods. And he has a 6-inch vertical scar on his lower back from a surgery that has a cleft chin and mole on his left cheek. The handgun that he used to kill his family was a .38 caliber Smith & Wesson. He purchased it legally from a hunting store, hardware store, like a combination store there in his home area. The handgun never was found. There was a shotgun in the station wagon, but the handgun that he actually used was never actually found. So they do believe that however and wherever he went originally, he took the .38 special with him. No, besides bloody clothing and articles inside the station wagon, the only other items were a pickaxe, shovel, a Winchester pump shotgun, and there was dog biscuits and a leash, a water bowl, and that was it. There was no other personal belongings in the car. If it wasn't for the blood and these items in the back, the far back portion of the station wagon, the car was immaculate inside. There was no wrappers, no nothing at all in the car. He was very meticulous, and I wouldn't call him a clean freak or a germ freak, but he was very meticulous in his life and how his vehicle, and that was one of the other things was his vehicle was freshly cleaned except for the mud and dirt that had kicked up for him driving to this area to bury the bodies. The car was spotless on the outside. Because there are photos that can be seen online of the station wagon. And now we're going to get into some speculation of possible spottings, and then I'm going to end. And before I do, I want to thank everyone here on Patreon again for stopping by and joining in on this live stream. I know the notice didn't reach out to everyone, and I am sorry about that. That was my fault. I set the date wrong, so you probably got a notice, if you got one, that said that the premiere for this live stream was next Friday and not today. My bad. But I'll definitely post this video on YouTube and on the Facebook group and here on Patreon after it's done. All right, so possible sightings. In July of 1978, a Swedish woman who said she had collaborated with Bishop while on a business trip in Ethiopia reported she spotted him twice in a public park in Stockholm during the span of 1 week. She stated she was absolutely certain this was Bishop. She did not contact police immediately because she was not aware of the fact that he was wanted in the U.S. January 1979, Bishop was reportedly seen by former U.S. State Department colleague in a restroom in Sorrento, Italy. The colleague greeted the bearded man, whom he personally believed to be Bishop, eye to eye, asking the man impulsively, "Hey, you're Brad Bishop, aren't you?" The man panicked, suddenly responding in a distinctly American accent, "Oh no." And then he ran swiftly out of the restroom and fled into the Sorrento alleyways. On September 19, 1984, in Basel, Switzerland, train platform, a neighbor who had known Bishop and his family in the Bethesda, Maryland area was on vacation and reported that she'd seen Bishop from a few feet away. The neighbor described Bishop as well-groomed and said he was getting into a car. That was in 1994. FYI, the gentleman who died in Florida, who was a recluse, died in 1999. According to the FBI, these you're not going to believe this. Find it kind of a little bit eerie. Possible places where they believe that Bishop is hiding: Europe, or possibly in California, Florida. He may also be working as a teacher or become involved in other underground criminal activities. In 2010, it was revealed that before the murders, Bishop had been corresponding with federal prison inmate Kenneth Bankston in the United States Penitentiary in Marion. And this was somewhat out of behavior for him, and he was asking him several questions about how he detected, got away and undetected for several years while he was on the run, Kenneth Bankston, that is. And so it to the FBI and to the U.S. Marshal Service, it appeared that Bankston was helping him, figure out how to disappear. So, in 2014, a request by the FBI forensic artist Karen Taylor created an age progression sculpture of Bishop projected appearance at the age of 77. Using Taylor's sculpture, several alternate images were created by Lisa Shepard to show an addition of facial hair with glasses. All right, and again, I will try to post some of these to the YouTube video later on, and also for Facebook, and then it'll also be here on when I re-upload this to Patreon. And that's pretty much it. He's still out there, and there is, even if he was confirmed to be the gentleman from the Florida area, he's still considered on the FBI's most wanted list, and he is an active, open case. And he killed his entire family. He has gotten away with it all these years, and no one really knows where Bradford Bishop Jr. is. William Bradford, Bishop Jr. So again, if you're watching this on YouTube or Facebook, I hope that here at the end here I will put a link for my Patreon, and you should go check it out. I hope you would consider joining the rest of the growing community of Patreon supporters, and I will do better and get this uploaded, and the notice, for the correct date next time for everyone. There is a live link in every single video that I put up on YouTube to the Patreon account and to the fan store over on Teespring, so you can buy fan gear for this channel as well. But again, thank you for stopping by.